Welcome back to Kids Life. I'm here with Michael Grose from Parenting Ideas, who's going to talk to us about how to be a good dad. What's the...
a great dad, you mean.
A great dad, how to be a great dad.
You look, a great dad these days is an involved dad.
Okay.
So very different than perhaps being a dad when my father was raising me. The notion of involvement was quite different. These days, dads want to be completely involved in the lives of their kids, and that means hands-on.
Yes.
That absolutely means hands-on. What we do know about dads is that they spend only 1/3 of the time that their wives spend around kids. So parenting tends to be more mother-focused than father-focused, except on weekends.
Yes.
When the amount of percentage of time that dads spend around kids increases quite dramatically, whereas for mums it doesn't. My tips are these: become really involved and take responsibility from your child from a really early age, even from a baby. So learn the fathering or the parenting things then. There's a high correlation between those fathers that take responsibility for their kids in the early years and those who get satisfaction from their role of being a father. Second, realise that your language, the language of fatherhood, is very different than the language of motherhood. The language of fatherhood is often about activity and about play. So make the most of that. Get involved, play with your kids, and really enjoy the time you have with your kids. Yeah. If you've got a son, realise that around about the age of 4, 5 or 6 you're Superman. They want to spend time with you because they're downloading the software about how to be a male. Yep. And don't take it personally when they turn 13, 14 and they realise you're just Clark Kent, not Superman. And if you've got a daughter, I believe one of the things you do is you actually teach your daughter how they should be treated by other males. So treat them well, allow them to be a little bit assertive to you, and that will teach them that if I can speak up to dad and tell him to get off the grass in a reasonable sort of way, I'll be able to do that with other males as well. Yes. So we're both role models to our boys and also gender models to our girls. And the third thing I think you can do if you're a dad is, if you're a busy dad, and I think majority of dads are, just like mums, we're really busy, schedule some time to spend with your kids. Ritualise your time. And that means that make sure you've got some times either every day or at least 2 or 3 times a week where you're going to spend some time with your kids. Whether it's within a game, whether it's saying goodnight to them, whether it's on a Saturday morning, you always do whatever it may be that you always do. So make sure you carve out a bit of time to spend with your kids.
I was going to say, if dad's working like full time throughout the week, should they be allocating maybe meal times or weekends? What's the best time to spend with the kids?
The best time to spend with the kids is whatever works for you, and I don't mean that in a silly sort of way. I looked at working families a number of years ago and looked at what worked well and what didn't work well. One of the things I noticed about dads who did the work family thing really well was that they scheduled time with their kids. It's great if you can do it on a daily basis. I always say talk to your kids every day. If you can't talk to your kids every day, at least make sure that you've got an emotional connection, that you're doing it in some way, that you're taking an interest in their lives. Sometimes we get really busy and we travel, but if it's not every day, make sure at least it's once a week. As your kids move into adolescence, do what I did when I was growing up, where once a term we actually spent a day with each other. It was diarised, and you had to go on a date with dad, whether you're a male or female, which was fun. And we had all sorts of different activities, and a couple of times they weren't all that wrapped, but it was a non-negotiable. So what I found out with those dads who did the work family thing well was they used the same skills that made them successful at work, use them at home. That is, they planned and prioritised. And if their priority was to spend some time with their kids, then they would plan for that and they would make sure that happened. And males respond really strongly to rituals. And kids tell us as well that there's 3 sorts of times that they like at home. Firstly, they like downtime. That means maybe Sunday afternoon there's nothing much has happened, and that's when the kids tell us that dad becomes fun. He suddenly relaxes and he suddenly becomes human. So make sure you have a little bit of downtime. Secondly, kids say they like one-on-one time. I love having one-on-one time with my dad. So that's important. And the third thing that kids say is they like rituals. And the rituals are the meal times we have or those individual activities which will happen every week. And the reason why they like them is because they can rely on them. They know they're always going to happen. So to be a great dad, you need to be an involved dad, and you need to make sure, don't wait for it to happen. make sure that it happens.
And this will help bring the balance back into the family, yes? It will be, you know, mum spending a lot of time with them throughout the week.
Yeah, that's right. Look, mothering and fathering is, we call it parenting, but it's not. It's really about being a mother and a father. And mothers and fathers, you know, parent differently. Mothers often are a little bit more nurturant, and fathers can often be a little bit more the challenges and you know, come at things from a different angle. So don't try and be a parent like your wife is, you know, because it doesn't work that way. You need to be, you know, a dad, and dads do things really differently.
Yeah.
And so don't be gender neutral, be a dad, and just, you know, make sure you do spend time with your kids. And as always, I've got one tip with dads and their sons.
What's that?
Make sure that when you interact with them, you don't turn everything into a lesson, because dads tend to actually do that with their sons.
Okay.
Because they always want to improve them, and often their sons will pull back and say, "Dad, I just want to have some fun."
Exactly. Kick the footy.
A little bit like that, and don't say, "Hold it like this."
No, exactly. All right, thank you very much, Michael.
Pleasure.